Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're diving into a really fascinating, kind of counterintuitive idea about the spiritual journey. What if the whole point wasn't about finding the ultimate answer, but about stopping the search altogether? Yeah, let's get right into it.
All right, so let's start with the big ones, right? The heavy hitters. Who am I? Why am I here? What is the meaning of all this? I mean, these are the questions that have driven humanity for, well, forever. We see them as like the sacred starting point for any real inner journey.
And for generations, the assumption has been that these questions are basically an engine, They're supposed to propel us forward, push us down this path from confusion to, well, some kind of destination, whether you call it enlightenment or peace or something else entirely.
But what if that's all wrong? I mean, here's a pretty radical thought. What if the search itself is the one thing standing in the way? What if the goal isn't to find an answer at all, but to just stop looking? This is the core idea we're going to unpack today.
Okay, so where does this constant searching usually lead us? Well, it often drops us right into what you might call the spiritual marketplace. And it's a perfect name for it, isn't it? It's this huge, kind of noisy place that's full of promises. Get your transformation here! But the price is always accumulating more stuff, more knowledge, more techniques, more peak experiences.
So we become collectors. It's like we're walking through this marketplace, picking up methods like they're souvenirs from exotic trips. Each one feels like a little trophy, a testament to how far we've come on our journey. And every single one whispers that it's V1, the final piece of the puzzle.
So we might grab some Tibetan meditation practices over here, some Indian breathing exercises over there. We dive into mystical Persian poetry, maybe experiment with sacred Amazonian plant medicines. We go on countless retreats and read stacks of books. And the whole time, the driving force is the hope that the next thing, that will be the one that finally makes us feel whole.
And you know what? Sometimes, for a little while, it seems to work. We get these brief, absolutely glorious moments where we touch something that feels like transcendence. The self just seems to dissolve. But then, inevitably, we come crashing back down. The old familiar self returns, and that feeling of incompleteness is back with a vengeance, pushing us to search even harder than before.
So it turns out this isn't some bug in the system, it's a feature. This is the very structure of seeking. Think about it. For there to be a search, there has to be a seeker, that's me, and something that is sought, that's enlightenment or peace out there in the distance. The whole game is built on a fundamental rejection of this present moment in favor of some imaginary better future.
Okay, so this brings us to a really critical turning point. Instead of constantly looking for more answers out there, the investigation has to turn around 180 degrees. It has to start questioning the one who's doing all the seeking.
Yeah, who is this entity that so desperately wants to awaken? I mean, really look at it. Is the part of you that's craving enlightenment really any different from the part of you that craves a promotion or a perfect relationship or financial security? If you dig down, it's all coming from that exact same place, isn't it? That feeling of, I'm not quite complete yet.
And this has a name. It's called the spiritual ego. And man, it is the most insidious, the most sneaky ego of all, because its whole disguise is that it has transcended ego. It actually makes the self stronger by accumulating spiritual brownie points and advanced practices. It's that quiet little voice in the back of your head going, wow, I'm getting really good at this whole non-ego thing.
And this just brilliantly sums up the whole paradox, doesn't it? The mind's plan for effortlessness. You hear that the key is to let go or be spontaneous, and what does the mind do? It immediately creates a 4-step plan. It sets a goal for having no goal. It starts practicing non-practicing. It literally schedules time for spontaneous surrender. It tries so hard to stop trying. It's completely absurd, but we've all been there.
So the end of the search doesn't actually come from finding the magic bullet, the one right technique. It doesn't come from success at all. It comes from utter, complete exhaustion. The seeking energy, this frantic drive, just runs itself ragged. It tries every path, every practice, until it simply runs out of fuel and collapses on the side of the road. And it's in that collapse, in that giving up, that something finally falls away. And let's be really clear here. What falls away isn't you. It's not your personality. It's not your life. It's the seeker. It's that constant, nagging sense of being a separate me inside here, looking out at life out there. The gap between the seeker and the sought just dissolves.
All right, so if the seeker is gone,
What's left? What does it actually look like to live life not as a project, but just as it is? This comparison here really lays it out. On one side, you've got life as a project. That's all about striving for some future liberation, constantly judging the ordinary as not it. You're standing apart from your experience, grading it. But on the other side, that's life as it actually is. It's raw, unfiltered. The ordinary is suddenly revealed as extraordinary because for the first time, you're not standing apart from it. You're simply being the experience.
So what dies really isn't you, but the narrator. That little voice in your head that's constantly telling a story about your life. The sound of traffic is just traffic, not that annoying noise that's ruining my meditation. The body aches and it's just an ache, not a whole story about my bad back. A bird sings, and there's just the singing. There's no one left standing apart, interpreting it all. There's just this.
And here's the biggest punchline of all. It turns out the search itself created the very distance it promised to one day bridge. You discover you were never lost to begin with. That feeling of separation that you were trying so hard to overcome, it was an illusion created by the very act of looking for something else.
So what does this look like in daily life? Does it mean you just sit on a cushion all day? No, not at all. It's about returning to that same marketplace, returning to your life, but with empty hands and a totally different way of seeing.
And to be clear, this doesn't mean that all those practices and retreats were a mistake. They were absolutely essential. Think of them like the booster stages on a rocket. They were necessary to burn through all that fuel, all that intense seeking energy. But for a rocket to reach orbit, those stages have to fall away. If you cling to them after their fuel is spent, they just become dead weight you're dragging through space.
It really boils down to this. Seeking postpones living for some ideal future. Living, on the other hand, is just being fully where you are, no reservations. When you're seeking, every action is an attempt to become complete. But when you're just living, action is simply an expression of the completeness that's already here.
And what you find is that spirituality is freed from its quotation marks. It's no longer this special, separate category of life. The dishes need washing. The dog needs a walk. A friend calls, upset, and you just listen. These things aren't distractions from your real spiritual life anymore. You realize this is it. This is life itself.
And so are left not with a neat and tidy answer, but with a question, a kind of open space. What remains when the one who was always looking is finally gone?